Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Tuesday, May 25th in the year 2021. And on this day, many, many moons ago, as my old librarian used to say in elementary school, the man that helped me come into the world was born. Today is my dad's birthday, and happy birthday, Mr. Julius Stevens. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JStevens07. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter as well, and Locked On Buckeye. Lineup for today in segment one, going to talk about the name, image, and likeness bill that is likely to go and be go into effect July 1st in the state of Ohio. Segment two, continuing our Big Things Coming series. Who we're talking about today, it is a player on the offense. And then segment three, more numbers, more data about how good the Buckeyes have been, not just football, but the entire athletic department have been in the classroom. But before we get to all of that, I want to remind you to make sure you check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast, because there's simply no better place to get all the news on the Big Ten Conference than with Big Ten Ben Stevens and the Locked On Big Ten podcast. Follow the Locked On Big Ten podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Name, image, and likeness. I believe it was a couple weeks ago, at least a week ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, where we mentioned here on the podcast that NIL, or name, image, and likeness legislation, is on its way. Would it be coming from the state variety? Would the state of Ohio put in their own legislation and rules? Would it be the NCAA? Not likely, because they're normally very, very passive. But would it be the NCAA where they put in their own legislation and rules? Who would come first? It surely looks like the states will beat the NC2A. There are 5 states that already have some form of legislation going into effect July 1st in their own state. A couple months ago, or maybe earlier this year, NC2A tournament, because so many players were having t-shirts that said hashtag not NCAA property. And I went to the Google to see when the NCAA NIL legislation was going to go into effect. And the article I read said August 1st. So August 1st to July 1st, 2 completely different time periods. That's a month, 31 days in difference. But if the NCAA goes later than the states, how would that go? Because at the time, I know there were states planning to go into effect July 1st. Now there are more than that right now. The NCAA, passive, waiting. And it looks like they're going to be behind the 8 ball once again in this situation. The NCAA does a whole lot of good. Just a lot of these athletes, not just the football players, but so many athletes to play athletics at the collegiate level. That's amazing. But they're behind the 8 ball on this one. So the Ohio bill that is planning to be passed and to go into effect by July 1st, it is something that got pushed back because of the Rona. When things got shut down in the state of Ohio, their plan to get things done, their timetable got pushed back and got delayed simply because they couldn't meet. They couldn't discuss things like they normally would. So they had to push things back and push things back and push things back. Well, the pushing and the delaying seems like that is over. There was a press conference at Ohio State. A state senator was there, and G. Smith was there as well. And it's exciting times in Ohio because players can get compensated for their name, image, and likeness. This is very interesting because this is not something that is just for scholarship athletes, but it's for the non-scholarship athletes as well. It's also for athletes that play any level of collegiate sport athletic in the state of Ohio, not just Ohio State or Cincinnati or any D1 school, Xavier, in the state of Ohio, but also other schools as well. The D1 level all the way down to the very bottom, they could get and try to get a piece of the pie as well. There's some interesting details that come out of the NIL bill or name, image, likeness bill in the state of Ohio. First, athletes can profit, as we know, off their name, image, and likeness. No deals are allowed with marijuana companies, alcohol companies, tobacco companies, or casinos. I like that because, a lot of those companies are the ones that will try to appeal to younger people. Maybe they may try to go behind the eight ball and try to get them to sign up because, well, we know you're doing it illegally. How about would you just come on and help us make some money? We'll pay you. No, we're not doing that. Now, the athletes have to tell the school about the deal 15 days in advance. The schools don't have veto power, but they will provide guidance, and agents are allowed. That bottom one's a little bit tricky because the agents know all about this system, man, this process, and the implementation of you first getting your first contract, getting inside with the owner or the boss or the individual that is a part of the team that is going to sit down with you and help you learn about what the company can provide and how you can get some money. Agents might try to take too much of the pie. They might have tried to take enough at all. I don't know. I'm not trying to get into all of this. This is new waters. And as we know, with anything new, there are going to be growing pains. I use that word on here, that phrase on here quite a bit because it's very true about life. It's very true about the way things get done. You know how it is when you do something new. It's a struggle. There are times that you may try to wonder, how in the world did this happen? What in the world is going on for this to be the case? There are going to be exciting moments, high moments. There are also possibly going to be low moments and moments for you to scratch your head and wonder, okay, that went okay. Didn't go as planned. How can we get better? Same thing with this. Every athlete is going to be excited. I can sign a contract. I can get paid by whatever, a bank. I can get paid by a mom and pop barbecue restaurant. All these different things, an insurance company. I can get paid from all of this. It's going to be growing pains, not just for the athletes, but also for these companies as well, because they're going to learn who they want to use as a sponsor and who they don't. Guys, simply very quickly, when we come back, we will continue and talk about athletes who I think we can expect big things from in the fall. Yesterday, Marcus Crowley. Today, who is an offensive player. Can't get into specifics just yet. Stick around to find out. But first, check this out. RockAuto.com is a family business serving auto parts customers online for 20 years. Go to RockAuto.com to shop for auto and body parts from hundreds of manufacturers. They have everything from engine control modules and brake parts to tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Whether it's for your classic or daily driver, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door. The RockAuto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. Quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle and choose brands, specifications, and prices you prefer. Best of all, prices at RockAuto.com are always reliably low and the same for professionals and do-it-yourselfers. Go to RockAuto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, locked on in their "How did you hear about us" box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com. And as we roll on to continue today's episode here of Locked on Buckeyes, I want to give you a little backstory about today's little episode, a little sequence of events. So it was Tuesday morning, woke up, and I started to eat a little breakfast, put some notes together, and I sat down to record around 8:15, 8:20, 8:30, started getting everything done, put together. About 9-something, had some personal business come up that I was going to put everything together and get it uploaded to you. Well, what happened, and I don't know why this has happened. This has never happened before using this system, but the audio was mute. There was no audio. So I went to the video, and I said, okay, cool. Does the video have audio? I can strip the audio from the video, make that work. Nope. The audio was mute. So this is literally the second recording of today's episode because for some odd reason, I guess I accidentally, I'm going to blame myself on the system. I accidentally hit the mute button on my mic, which I never, ever touch. So here we go. Round two already in the middle of it. Let's continue on with the good thing right now. Jeremy Ruckert. Jeremy Ruckert. He is somebody that I have been waiting and I have been anticipating and excited to see when we tap into his full potential. Is he a good blocker? Absolutely. Is he a good pass catcher? Absolutely. Has he been utilized? And have we seen everything he can be on the field? No, we have not. To date at right now for his career at Ohio State, 28 catches, 306 receiving yards, 10.9 yards per reception, 9 touchdowns. Nothing about that screams, ooh-wee, first round pick. Ooh-wee, day 2 pick. Nothing about that screams and says, Jeremy Ruckert, we want you on our team. No, it does not. It's unfortunate, but it doesn't. But one thing I've realized, and I think we're going to see a little bit of shifting for Brian Day this year. I know he uses a lot of 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight end sets. I do expect a lot of 12 personnel this year. But I do think we'll see less 12, more 1 running back, 1 tight end set. Why? You got to get that boy in space. He's a matchup nightmare. So think about this. At Ohio State, you have Olave on one side. You got Wilson on the outside of the other receiver. You got Smith and Jigba right there in the slot. If you put Ruckert on the other side, let's say you have Wilson and Jigba on one side, you have Olave and Ruckert on the other. Do you bring in a nickel corner to cover him because Ruckert can run really, really good routes? Nah, too small. Do you put a linebacker, an outside linebacker out there in space? Probably. But how many outside linebackers are really good in coverage, like really, 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 really good in coverage in the college game? Not that bad. I mean, it's some. We're finding more athletes that are better in space than they used to be, but being good in space and trying to tackle is a completely different game than the flipping of the hips and the footwork and the ankle bending and all of that, all those things at the pad level and all of those things that go into being an elite individual inside a team's defense. So there's so many different things that go inside and go into this here situation with Mr. Jeremy Ruckert. And you may be saying, Jay, why do you think he's going to have a big year? There's a plethora of reasons, but what is it now that we haven't seen yet as far as why you think Ruckert can have a big season? We see it all the time, more so at the NFL level than the college level. But what is a new quarterback's best friend? A good tight end. Well, I remember Colin Cowherd not recently. This is a couple of years ago now, and he was talking about the tight end situation, and this is what it was. Tom Brady to Indianapolis. Okay, I didn't like it. I was not a fan of it. Been a Colts fan my entire life. No, I was not about to have Tom Brady leave New England, leave Boston to come to Indianapolis because of our tight end situation. If you look at the Colts tight end situation, it's been okay lately, not the best lately. So Colin Cowherd, I get it, but no, not at all. But Colin Cowherd did make a good comment about how Tom Brady loves tight ends. Let's go to another guy that I watched play quite a bit. The guy that came up right after, the guy that was a full-time starter for a few years after him, Peyton Manning, and then Andrew Luck. What do we find from both of them? We found both Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck really, 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 really enjoyed and liked a solid tight end. Early on Peyton Manning's career in Indianapolis, guy named Ken Dilger, guy named Marcus Pollard. They ran a lot of 12 personnel, running back, 2 tight end sets. We saw that all the time in Indianapolis. And then Dallas Clark, shortly after that, when he went to 11 personnel, they ended up having a slot receiver, and the offense really exploded. And then you saw with Andrew Luck, different tight ends. Actually, Eric Ebron, now with the Steelers, Browns fans, you may not like him. Well, you may like him because he just can't catch the ball. But Eric Ebron had one good year as a tight end in the NFL. We know what people say he possibly can be, but from Eric Ebron's most of his career, he is a drop. dropping individual. I mean, he's not the magnet that he wants his hands to be. No, it's more just the bricks. You hit him and the ball kind of just falls right off and doesn't stick to anything. You want him to be a magnet? They're more or less bricks. And I do believe, no matter if it's McCord, Miller, or Stroud, who is a starting quarterback for Ohio State, I do believe that Jeremy Ruckert, this is the kind of year for him to kind of make a name for himself and to be someone that we could see being a day 2 pick. Yes, I think Jeremy Ruckert has the ability to be a day 2 pick, more of a round 3 kind of pick. I know you can look at his entirety of his career and say, Jay, he really hasn't been utilized. Do you think 1 year can be the time period that he propels himself and boosts his draft stock in 1 year over a 12, 13, 14, 15 game span, 12 regular season, plus 1 for the Big Ten championship, plus 1 for the playoff, and then plus 1 for the Natty. 12, 13, 14, 15 game. You get what I'm talking about. It's Ohio State. There are high expectations for this football team. But yes, I do believe Jeremy Ruckert can be a guy with his hands, his pass catching ability, his route running ability. We have already seen him make acrobatic and make spectacular catches. We have already seen him make very solid catches. And with his running ability, I believe this is the kind of year and this is the time that Jeremy Ruckert, we find him possibly making and boosting himself via the draft cycle and merely making himself move higher up the boards for tight ends, not just for the draft analyst, but for scouts, coaches, and executives as well at the NFL level. I firmly believe he has the talent, and this is the type of situation where an individual like a Jeremy Ruckert says, look, I understand. You got talent on the outside. There are going to be times they're going to be locked up. There are going to be times, not going to happen often, but there are going to be times the other opposing defense is going to throw a defense at you that you can't figure out. Trust me, baby. Trust me. No matter if it's Stroud, Miller, or McCord, no matter who the starting quarterback is, trust your boy. Been around for a while. I've been able to play with different quarterbacks, and we have seen from Haskins to Fields. We have seen Ruckert alter his game. We have seen Ruckert be successful in flashes, but I do think we're going to see Ruckert be more successful throughout the entirety of this year's season. Let's that way very, very quickly. When we come back, we will talk about athletes and how they have done in the classroom and how many scholar athletes the Ohio State athletic program has right now. But first, check this out. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at BetOnline. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for all your sporting needs, including MLB, NBA, NHL, and all your UFC/MMA action. Before the next pitch, head over to BetOnline on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game as teams prep for their runs to the playoffs. Head to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device to sign up today. And when you do, make sure you use promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sports book experts. And as we roll on, continue today's episode here of Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I want to remind you to make sure you check out the Locked On Big Ten podcast, because normally on a normal week, a typical week, myself and Big Ten Ben Stevens, we end up just doing the Monday show. But with him and I spending time discussing and going over the the CBS Sports coach rankings, we spent some time discussing them and going over them and, well, just really seeing who it is that CBS Sports and how they rank the Big Ten coaches. It wasn't just one day, 2 days of shows. And I want to encourage you to go back, check that out, and really see where Ryan Day falls, our explanation. Well, we know where he falls, our explanation, and then also the other coaches as well. 2 days wrapping up Big Ten coaches rankings via the CBS Sports writers. They did a phenomenal job and provided so much for us to talk about. Scholar athletes. I'm going to roll on and continue this very, very quickly. Scholar athletes at Ohio State there's a record of 799 Buckeyes named as scholar athletes by Ohio State. 799, which is a record. That's a number of scholar athletes at Ohio State. I put an emphasis on this because this is something that I think might go unnoticed by many, many people. We get so wrapped up. We get so enamored. We get so focused. We get so tunnel visioned on the game. Not just versus the team up north, but any type of game or sporting event an athlete at Ohio State is playing or performing in, we get wrapped up in that. From the football to the basketball, the baseball, the softball, the hockey, the field hockey, the track and field, all these different sports, the golf, all these different sports, we get so wrapped up in those, we forget only 1% of these athletes that play collegiate sports in that particular sport will go on to play pro at the sport that they choose. 1%, less than 1%. So even to tell me plus 99+% of the collegiate athletes who watch on a regular basis will go pro in their sport? Absolutely, which is why the classroom is so important. So to qualify to be a scholar athlete, you must carry a 3.0 GPA through the fall semester and be a full-time student. There were 61 football players that were scholar athletes. Harry Miller had a 4.0. One of the individuals that had a 4.0 at Ohio State. Zach Harrison was on that list, among others. 11 men's basketball players are on that list as well. Justin Arns, Musa Jallo, he's a Harvard grad. It's kind of expected. Not trying to just be honest. I mean, those dudes at Harvard, they're smart. So you have the Harvard grad. You have Justin Arns. You have Jimmy Sotos. Got injured. There were some others. Numerous. Zetke was on there. Musa Jallo was on there as well. I want to say Justin Swig was on the basketball list as well. And then let's just discuss. Let's go. My mind. Okay, so I had not felt well. Allergies have been kicking me down the past couple of days. I don't know if you could tell it through the microphone or through your speakers that Jay just doesn't sound right now. But my mind has been off, way off, when recording these shows. So let me slow down, get this right, and not try to overcomplicate something that shouldn't be very, very simple. Ohio State had 799 scholar athletes this year, a record as an athletic department as a school. Last year, 647. The previous year, 674. The previous year, 692. So it was a 3-year drop, and then all of a sudden you get a boost of over 150, 152. Yeah, that's amazing. Tough to follow it up. It's going to be difficult to get more on that list. But can it happen? Yes, it can. This year, there were 47 athletes that had a 4.0 GPA. So 799 that qualified, you had to carry a 3.0, but 47 student athletes had a 4.0 GPA. Among the scholar athletes, there were 310 people that were first-time honors or first-time scholar athletes. 242, this was their second time. 134, this was their third time. 94 for their fourth time. 17 athletes, this was their 17th time. No, 17 athletes, this is their fifth time. And then 2 athletes, this was their 6th time. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. I enjoy seeing and hearing about these young men excelling, not just in the athletic or the sport that they play, but also in the classroom as well. Guys, this has been fun. This is being recorded on a Tuesday morning. Hoping to get tomorrow's episode recorded early afternoon so that can be up right at midnight for you tomorrow. Guys, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send all of your emails too. If you want to send an email, send it to jstevens317 at gmail.com. Hoping your boy's sinuses and these allergies are back to normal. Almost like the flying V, like it's supposed to be from the Mighty Ducks. Not sure where that analogy came from, but I like it. I might try to use that once again down the road. But once, now that this show is over, this seems like the perfect time to click over and listen to today's episode of the Locked On Today podcast, because that is the place to get all the sports news you need in under 20 minutes from the Locked On Today podcast. Host Peter Bukowski updates you on the latest news in every major sport with the help of our local experts. Follow the Locked On Today podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your fine podcast.